Hey everyone, welcome to this full moon Sidereal astrology forecast for the full moon on Monday, August 3rd, 2020. All right, so a status check time of the month here in the constellation of Capricorn. If you're expecting me to say Aquarius just then, be sure to check out that link down below for more information. We are using the actual size of the constellations, which is different from mainstream astrology. All right, so Sea Goat, Capricorn, how is the side of ourself that is willing to see the long term, willing to put in time with things and really cultivate that persevering side of ourselves? This is all in the context of the fact that 2 weeks ago, we had the new lunar month, which has been helping us develop the Cancerian energies of doing what's important to us on an emotional level and spending time with our personal life and really connecting to the more feeling-based aspects of ourself and of life and of our relationships. So Capricorn, opposite this feeling-based energy of Cancer, is a bit more detached. It is a bit more about responsibilities. It is again about seeing the longer term perspective. So with this full moon, how can we incorporate both in this sense? Now with the full moon, we do have some aspects. We have a square up to Uranus. So maybe there'll be a side of ourselves coming through personally or collectively that wants to induce some change, wants to break free in some way, challenge the status quo. So good to listen to that, but in healthy and constructive ways. How can we get outside of our comfort zone and do things that are about listening to our excitement, but at the same time, healthfully disrupting and healthfully inducing some change could be very constructive with this. There's also a sextile up to Chiron and a very minor sextile up to Mars. So maybe some healing energy coming in that could be quite nice, just available, nothing too strong there with that one. And maybe some initiating energy with Mars, again, just available there with that. All right, so let's go and take a look at this as well as the chart here in more detail when we return. All right, so here is the chart for the full moon. So again, it will be on Monday, August 3rd, and this will be at 12:24 Eastern time of the Americas. If you do want to make that calculation for wherever you are in the world, that's 12:24 p.m. Eastern time of the Americas. All right, so again, as you can see here, we are using the actual size of the constellations, which changes the signs from mainstream astrology. This form of astrology is called true sidereal astrology. And again, so if you are new, definitely check out that link down below for more information. All right, so let's take a look here at the full moon right in the middle of the constellation of Capricorn, the Sea Goat. So if we look at the constellation, the bottom half is a fish, actually, and then the top half is the goat. And this is the reminder that, in order to do these things that involve achievement and the long term, right, and all this, outward kind of stuff, in the more physical world, it's very important to maintain that rootedness into the water realms. And in this case, particularly Cancer, maintaining what's important to us on a feeling-based level, on an intrinsic level. And, this has really been the development of this month and will continue to be. And so the question is how can we now develop the side of ourselves that is certainly productive, self-disciplined, wants to see the long-term perspective? That's really what we're doing a status check with. And that's really good to ask ourselves, how is this side of ourselves right now, right? Is there some things we can achieve towards? Is there some things that we can take time with that'll benefit us for the long term, not necessarily just for the short term, that we can persevere through, right? And incorporate some of that sort of long-term, patient, disciplined, and responsible energy of Capricorn. So that's the goat side of it, right? The climbing of the mountain. But the sea side of it, maintaining the roots into what's important to us emotionally. Because what's the point of going out and doing all this achievement and outward physical stuff if it isn't connected to what's important to us on an emotional level? Right? And we aren't rooted into the things that really matter to us in our personal lives, right? In our feeling-based lives, sometimes our family life, our home life, right? These things are very, very important. So all full moons are about balance, and this is certainly about finding that balance between that, we could say, public achievement side and more private and personal side of life while we do finish up this cycle. And with whatever shifts and changes, usually during a full moon, we come to some awareness about how we can incorporate more of this type of energy. And so there could be some illuminations around Monday. Give it a couple days. There could be some insights, and maybe from that, wanting to make some shifts and changes along the lunar month. And that'll be great to do for the remainder of the cycle, the next 2 weeks. How can we further develop this disciplined side while maintaining our roots into the feeling-based elements of life? All right, so that's definitely the most important thing here with the full moon, but we do have some aspects with it. So we do have a square up to Uranus in Aries. And so this has been this side of ourself these past couple of years coming through that does want to induce change in a way that really gives us more independence, really is important to our personal needs and our desires, right? Just really wants to embody that true self. So with this full moon, that would be the challenge with the square, right? How can we challenge ourselves to induce some change in conscious and constructive ways, right? Because Uranus is helping us do that. And this can be quite different because it's Aries, so it's more about fire, it's more about initiative, whereas as you can probably hear by the interpretations, Capricorn and Cancer, more yin energy, right? Feelings, and then that patience and earth energy. So how can we induce some of this fire energy and freedom-based energy and electrifying energy, that side that wants to induce some change, challenge the status quo a little bit in constructive ways? And this can even be our own status quo, right? Really good time to get outside of our comfort zone a little bit and experiment a little bit to see how we can further develop these things. Because yes, it's great to have the more grounded elements of the long term and sticking to that, right? And persevering and all this. But at the same time, we don't want to get too stuck, right? We don't get too much earth energy. We do want to make sure that what we're building is important to us on a true self level, on the side of ourself that does want to have freedom, does want to mix things up and still create some flexibility and change, new experiences, right? So this is a good way to challenge ourselves to do that during this cycle. Now with this full moon, we also have sextiles up to Chiron, and not technically Mars, but the sun will be trining Mars. So you can interpret it the same way. But in the case of Chiron, these sextiles, nothing major. It's just kind of an opening to do this stuff. And in this case, maybe some healing. Maybe if any wounds do arise, there could be an opportunity to maybe face some of those wounds and maybe do some of these things that we've talked about in the face of some wounds. That could be very healing and very therapeutic. With Mars, there could be an opening for, again, some of that fire energy, but do keep in mind that Mars is in Pisces and will be for a very long time. And this is more about taking action in a way that's more important to us on a soul level and is more receptive in how we take action, right? Pisces is the ocean, Mars is the fire. We want to make sure that we are listening to inner guidance, being guided, and swimming in the with the current versus against the current with this transit. So some supportive energy there to do that, though. Pisces being in good harmony with both Capricorn and Cancer. All right. And then one more thing I do want to mention is that Mercury is still opposing up to Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter, who've been in Sagittarius. So it's still a really good time to see if there has been any changes from earlier in the year, anything that was restructured or changed. This could certainly activate it with the full moon, because Saturn rules Capricorn, and Saturn's been playing a very important role this year in terms of some of the restructuring that we've been doing in our personal and collective lives. And so as a reminder, still good to do that, still good to induce some change, be flexible with some of these things we're still building. Mars is still retrograde, right? But nonetheless, Saturn's still retrograde. I think I may have just said Mars. Saturn is in Sagittarius, and so this is about building some of our potentials, right? Saturn in Sag is about seeing what inspires us, right? What can we take time with and build towards, but at the same time, what inspires us? What is our spirit guiding us towards? And also, kind of like Uranus, what brings in more freedom into our life that, we can, again, have those long-term plans with, build towards, concretize, build some foundations with, which is what this full moon is all about. All right, everyone. So that is the full moon in a nutshell. Most important thing with this is to integrate these two very different energies with doing a status check with what is important for long term, what's going to take time, patience, responsibility, a little bit of that detached, reserved energy can really go a long way. It can be very productive. But at the same time, maintaining the roots into the emotional realms, right? It's really been an important time for this. Maintaining our roots in our past, where do we come from, creating a protective environment to connect to the more intrinsic and personal aspects of life while we do that, to find that balance between the future and past, public and private sort of elements of life. Square to Uranus, good to mix things up in constructive ways just to maintain freedom and flexibility, and some minor aspects with healing and some initiative certainly available with this. All right, so everyone have a fantastic full moon. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click that like button if you haven't yet. If you're new to the channel, subscribe for more daily videos. And if you aren't yet part of the MTZ Insiders newsletter, there'll be a link down below to sign up. In there, you'll get these videos sooner, and there's also other content that you'll get there that isn't posted on YouTube for quite some time after. All right, so everyone have a great one. Thank you again, and I'll see you all in the next forecast. Take care.